Cold rain dripped through the busted bus stop roof onto Marcus Reed's shoes. The cardboard under him was soaked through already. He pulled his coat tighter and stared across Western Avenue at the flickering motel sign buzzing red and blue against the Chicago night. One letter kept dying every few seconds. VACNCY. Then back again. Vacancy. Like even the sign was too tired to keep trying. The smell of wet concrete and old cigarettes sat heavy in the air. Cars hissed past through puddles. Nobody looked at him anymore. That hurt worse than the cold sometimes. Being invisible could hollow a man out faster than hunger. Marcus was 38 years old, 6'1", broad shoulders, strong hands, the kind of hands built for fixing things, the kind that used to lift his little girl into grocery carts while she laughed loud enough for strangers to smile. Now those same hands shook while opening ketchup packets for McDonald's. Funny how fast life could strip somebody down. He rubbed warmth into his fingers and checked his phone battery again. 8%. The cracked screen glowed weakly against the dark. No missed calls, no texts, same as yesterday. He slid the phone back into his pocket carefully, like it still mattered. Across the street, laughter spelled from the motel balcony. A young couple leaned over the railing smoking cigarettes. The woman laughed hard at something, real hard, the kind where your whole body folds forward. Marcus looked away fast.
He missed hearing laughter close to him, especially hers. He still called his daughter every Thursday night. Didn't matter where he slept, didn't matter if he ate. Thursday belonged to Lily. That ritual kept him alive longer than food ever did. The city wind cut harder after midnight. Chicago winters always came early near the lake. The cold found places inside your bones and stayed there. Marcus pulled a knit cap lower over his ears and watched the train lights pass in the distance. He had not always been homeless. 3 years earlier, Marcus had owned a small brick house in Gage Park. Nothing fancy, just a narrow place with squeaky floors and a tiny backyard grill. He worked maintenance at a public high school. He fixed lockers, broken pipes, heating units, whatever needed fixing. He loved that job. Kids would yell his name down the hallway. "Yo, Marcus, vending machine ate my dollar again. Mr. Reed, bathroom sink exploded. You got tape?" He liked feeling useful. Then came the Tuesday everything cracked open. Marcus still remembered the smell first. Burned coffee and printer ink. The school principal couldn't even look him in the eye while explaining budget cuts. "We're outsourcing maintenance services," she said quietly. Marcus blinked twice. "What's that mean for me?" She swallowed hard. "It means Friday is your last day." That's simple. 19 years there, gone in 4 minutes. He drove home numb that day. Snow fell soft against the windshield.
The radio talked about rising costs and city politics and holiday shopping. None of it sounded real anymore. His wife Dana sat at the kitchen table holding unpaid bills when he walked inside. "You're home early." Marcus just stood there. She knew immediately. People who love you can read disaster before you speak it. Dana covered her mouth with both hands. For months they fought to stay above water. Marcus grabbed every job he could find. Warehouse shifts, construction cleanup, deliveries, overnight stocking at Walmart. Nothing lasted. Everything paid less. Then Dana got sick. That part still made Marcus angry in ways he couldn't explain. One emergency surgery, one hospital stay, one stack of bills bigger than their mortgage. Insurance covered some, not enough, never enough. Debt collectors started calling during dinner, then during breakfast, then before sunrise. Marcus sold tools first, then the grill, then his truck. Dana cried when he sold the truck. "That was your dad's." "I know." He could barely say it. Their marriage changed after that. Quiet settled into the house like smoke. They stopped touching each other, stopped laughing, stopped talking unless necessary. Stress can make strangers out of people who once shared everything. One night, Marcus woke up hearing Dana cry softly in the bathroom. He stood outside the door listening. He wanted to help, wanted to fix something, but there was nothing left to fix. 3 months later, she left. Not cruelly, not screaming. That somehow hurt more. She packed 2 bags while Lily stayed at her sister's house. Dana stood by the door for a long time. "I can't drown with you anymore," she whispered. Marcus nodded once. He understood. That was the worst part. He understood. The divorce took the house officially 6 months later.
Marcus sat inside an empty living room eating gas station peanuts the final night before eviction. The walls looked strange without family photos. He found one tiny pink sock under the couch, Lily's from years ago. He held that sock for almost an hour. Then morning came, and the door closed behind him. At first, Marcus told himself homelessness was temporary, a month maybe, 2 if things stayed rough. He slept in his car behind a grocery store near Archer Heights. He showered at a cheap gym membership he could barely afford, applied for jobs at the library every morning. He wore the same blue button shirt to interviews. Managers always looked at the employment gap too long. "We'll call you." Nobody called. Then the car died during February. Dead battery, cracked transmission. Repairs cost more than the car itself. Marcus slept inside it anyway for another week until police knocked on the window one frozen morning. "You can't stay here." Marcus nodded. "Yeah, I know." After that came shelters. The first shelter smelled like bleach, wet socks, and old coffee. Coughing echoed all night. Metal bunks squeaked whenever somebody rolled over.
One man screamed in his sleep every few hours. Marcus barely slept there, but he learned fast. Keep your backpack close, never flash cash, never trust anybody too quickly, and always know where the exits are. His backpack became his whole life. 2 shirts, 1 hoodie, phone charger, toothbrush, notebook, family photos folded inside a sandwich bag, and a library card. That card mattered. The library stayed warm during daytime. Nobody bothered him there if he looked busy. Marcus read books about repair work, electrical systems, small business ideas, anything useful. He also watched YouTube tutorials for HVAC certification classes. Something about learning kept him human. Even broke people need a future to imagine. One afternoon, a librarian named Denise walked past his computer and noticed him asleep sitting upright. She touched his shoulder gently. "Marcus?" He blinked awake fast. "Sorry, you weren't bothering anybody. I know, you looked tired." That kindness nearly broke him. Denise started saving old newspapers for him because she knew he checked job listings. Some mornings she slipped him extra granola bars from library events. Never pity, just dignity. That mattered too. Spring came slowly that year. Dirty snow melted into black puddles along curbs. Marcus started doing push-ups every morning behind the shelter parking lot. 50 every day. Didn't matter if he slept badly. Didn't matter if he was hungry. The push-ups reminded him he still owned something.
His body, his discipline, himself. One rainy afternoon, he got a call from Lily. "Daddy?" His whole face changed hearing her voice. "Hey, baby girl. You missed Thursday." Marcus closed his eyes hard. His phone had died Thursday night. "I know, I'm sorry." "You okay?" Kids notice everything. Marcus forced a smile she couldn't see. "Yeah. Daddy's okay." "You sound sad." That nearly killed him. He sat behind a Dunkin' Donuts while buses roared past and tried not to cry into the phone. "I miss you," Willie whispered. "I miss you too. When can I see you again?" Marcus looked at his soaked shoes. "Soon." He hated lying to her. After the call, he sat there another hour staring at traffic. Shame sat heavier than hunger that day. Everybody knows the feeling of failing somebody they love. Not homeless, maybe, but human. That same night, Marcus walked to a church soup kitchen near Pilsen. Steam fogged the windows inside. Volunteers handed out chili and cornbread on paper trays. A gray-haired pastor poured Marcus coffee. "You look frozen." Marcus nodded. "Little bit. Storm's getting worse tonight." Marcus stared at the coffee cup, warming his hands. "I'll survive." The pastor studied him quietly. "You always say that." Marcus gave a tired smile. "Still true." The pastor nodded once. "Sometimes surviving is harder than people think." Outside, thunder rolled across the city. Marcus remembered Dana during storms. She used to light vanilla candles during bad weather because they calmed Lily down. Funny what sticks inside memory. Not big moments always, tiny ones.
The next morning, Marcus woke to shouting inside the shelter. Two men fought over stolen shoes near the bunks. Staff pulled them apart while everybody else watched silently. Marcus grabbed his backpack immediately. Always protect your things first. Outside, the air smelled like wet asphalt after rain. Marcus walked south toward a day labor center. Men already lined the sidewalk waiting for temporary work trucks. Construction cleanup, trash hauling, roofing, anything. Marcus stood there 3 hours before a foreman picked him and 6 others for demolition work. Cash payment, no questions asked. The building sat near back of the yards. Old brick warehouse, dust everywhere. Marcus swung a sledgehammer 8 straight hours while old country music played from somebody's speaker. His shoulders burned afterward, but holding cash again felt unreal. $80. He bought clean socks first, then deodorant, then a cheeseburger bigger than his hand from a corner diner. Best meal he'd tasted in months. Funny thing about homelessness, small comforts become enormous. Clean socks can feel like hope. That night, Marcus rented the cheapest motel room he could find under the flickering sign on Western Avenue. Same sign he stared at now most nights. The room smelled like bleach covering smoke. The mattress sagged badly.
The television only showed 4 channels, but there was hot water. Marcus stood under that shower almost 30 minutes. When you lose basic things long enough, getting them back feels holy. He washed clothes in the sink afterward and hung them across chairs to dry. Then he called Lily. "You sound happier," she said immediately. Marcus smiled into the dark. "Got a room tonight." "Really?" "Yep." "Does it have cable?" He laughed softly. "Little bit." "Can I visit sometime?" Marcus stared at peeling wallpaper. "Not yet, baby." "Oh." The silence after hurt both of them. He changed subjects fast. "How's school?" Lily talked about a science project involving volcanoes. Marcus listened carefully to every word. He always listened carefully, like gathering pieces of a life he no longer lived inside. After the call, he lay awake, hearing motel pipes groan through walls. Somewhere nearby, a couple argued loudly. Sirens echoed distant downtown. Marcus stared at the ceiling all night, thinking about one dangerous thing. Maybe this was permanent. That thought scared him more than sleeping outside ever had, because once somebody accepts the bottom, climbing back gets harder. Summer hit Chicago hard that year. Thick heat sat over streets even after dark. Shelters became crowded and tense. Tempers rose faster in heat. Marcus spent more nights outside near Humboldt Park instead. One evening he found an old notebook beside a trash can. Most pages were blank.
He started writing in it every night after that. Not poetry, not deep thoughts, just facts. What he ate, who he met, what jobs he applied for, how he felt. Writing kept days from disappearing into each other. One entry simply said, "Saw myself in Walgreens' window today. Didn't recognize him." Another said, "Lily turns 10 next month. Need gift somehow." That birthday haunted him. Marcus worked every temporary job possible before Lily's birthday. Roofing cleanup, moving furniture, scraping paint. One awful weekend gutting flooded basements that smelled like mold and sewage. He saved every dollar carefully. Finally, he bought Lily a used bike from Goodwill. Purple. Slight rust near handlebars, but still solid. Marcus spent 2 hours cleaning it before giving it to her. Dana met him outside her apartment building during sunset. Cicadas buzzed loud in nearby trees. "She'll love it," Dana said quietly. Marcus nodded. "Hope so." Dana studied him carefully. He looked thinner every time she saw him. "You eating okay?" "Enough." That answer told her everything. Lily ran outside seconds later, screaming his name. "Daddy!" She hugged him so hard he nearly lost balance. Marcus closed his eyes, holding her. For one moment, he forgot every bad thing. She spotted the bike immediately. "No way!" Marcus grinned. "Thought you might like it." She rode circles around the parking lot, laughing nonstop. Dana watched from the curb beside Marcus. "You fixed the brakes," she noticed. "Yeah."
You always could fix things. Marcus stared at Lily riding through golden evening light. "Not everything." Dana looked away after that.
When visiting time ended, Lily hugged him again tightly. "Promise you'll call Thursday?" "Promise." He watched them disappear upstairs afterward, then walked 3 miles back to the shelter because bus fare suddenly mattered again. That was the night he almost gave up. Not dramatic, not dangerous, just tired, soul tired. He sat outside a closed laundromat around midnight watching moths circle a streetlight. Everything inside him felt worn out. He thought about disappearing somewhere nobody knew him. No more shame, no more explanations, no more hearing concern in Dana's voice or confusion in Lily's. A train rattled nearby. Marcus lowered his head into his hands. Then somebody sat beside him quietly. An older black man wearing paint-stained overalls. Marcus recognized him from the shelter. Earl. Earl handed him half a sandwich wrapped in napkins. Marcus shook his head. "I'm good." Earl shrugged. "Wasn't asking." Marcus accepted it finally. Turkey sandwich, little soggy, still good. They sat silent a while, then Earl spoke. "You ain't dead yet." Marcus laughed weakly. "Feels close sometimes." Earl nodded like he understood completely. "That's the trick, though." "What is?" "Feels close ain't the same thing." Marcus stared at traffic moving through the night. Earl pointed toward downtown lights far away.
City keeps moving no matter what happened today. Marcus said nothing. Earl stood slowly, knees cracking. Tomorrow could still surprise you. Then he walked off. Marcus thought about those words for years. Tomorrow could still surprise you. Fall arrived. Leaves clogged gutters across sidewalks. Air turned sharp again. Marcus finally passed an HVAC certification exam after months studying free materials online. He celebrated with a gas station hot dog and black coffee. Nobody else knew, but he knew. That mattered. The certification helped him land interviews finally, real ones, not just temp labor. Still no job offers, though. One manager frowned at Marcus's address line. "You're currently staying at a shelter?" Marcus answered honestly. "Yes, sir." The interview ended 5 minutes later. Another company wanted experience he didn't have. Another chose somebody younger. Another simply disappeared. Each rejection cut a little deeper. One November morning, Marcus woke with fever, chills inside the shelter. His chest hurt badly. Cough sounded wet and ugly. Staff sent him to Cook County Hospital. The emergency room overflowed with people. Crying babies, drunk arguments, flu patients wrapped in blankets. Marcus waited 7 hours under fluorescent lights. Pneumonia. Doctor prescribed antibiotics and rest. Rest where exactly? Marcus almost laughed hearing it. A nurse named Carla noticed him stuffing medicine papers into his backpack. "You got somewhere warm tonight?"
Marcus hesitated too long. Carla sighed softly. "Thought so." She disappeared briefly and returned holding extra blankets and cough drops. "You keep these." Marcus stared at her. "Thank you." She shrugged. "My brother was homeless once." People who understand struggle move differently around pain. Winter slammed into Chicago early that year. Snow piled black along curbs. Wind off Lake Michigan felt like knives against skin. Marcus started riding trains overnight sometimes just to stay warm. Red line, blue line, back and forth. You see all of humanity on overnight Chicago trains. Drunks asleep against windows, nurses heading home exhausted, teenagers laughing too loud, men like Marcus pretending not to be homeless. One freezing night near Christmas, Marcus sat inside a train car watching snow swirl outside darkness. Across from him sat a teenage boy wearing a grocery store uniform. The kid counted crumpled bills nervously. Probably rent money, probably food money. Marcus recognized that fear immediately. The boy caught Marcus looking and smiled awkwardly. "Tough night." Marcus nodded. "Yeah." "Train heat barely works." Marcus laughed softly. "Ain't that the truth?" The kid got off 3 stops later. Before leaving, he handed Marcus an unopened bag of chips. "Take care, man." Marcus stared at the chips after doors closed. Small kindness again. Tiny things kept happening. Tiny things kept saving him. Christmas Eve arrived brutally cold. Shelter beds filled early. Marcus missed getting one by minutes. Snow-covered sidewalks thick and white. He walked nearly 2 hours through Logan Square trying to stay warm. Christmas lights glowed through apartment windows everywhere. Families eating dinner. Kids opening gifts early. Marcus tried not to look too long. Eventually, he ducked beneath the awning of a closed tire shop. Wind still cut sideways hard enough to sting. His phone buzzed suddenly. Lily. Marcus answered immediately, despite frozen fingers. "Hey, baby."
"Merry Christmas, Daddy." Hearing her voice nearly cracked him open right there. "Merry Christmas, sweetheart. You sound funny. Just cold. You got gloves?" Marcus lied smoothly. "Yep." She talked about cookies and movies and new pajamas. Marcus listened, smiling into darkness. Then she got quiet. "Mom says you're trying hard." Marcus swallowed hard. "I am. I know." Snow blew across the empty street. Then Lily said something Marcus never forgot. "You always come back." Marcus closed his eyes. Cars hissed through slush nearby. His throat tightened so hard he could barely answer. "I'm trying to." That's enough. 10 years old, and somehow wiser than him. After the call, Marcus sat awake all night under that awning, watching snow bury tire tracks slowly. He thought about Lily's words until sunrise. "You always come back." Nobody had said something like that to him in a long time, like he still belonged somewhere.
3 days later, Marcus met a man named Victor at the library computer section. Victor noticed Marcus studying HVAC diagrams again. "You learnin' that stuff?" Marcus nodded cautiously. "Trying to." Victor pulled up a chair. "My cousin owns a repair company." Marcus had heard promises before. Most went nowhere. Still, he listened. Victor scribbled an address onto scrap paper. "Show up Monday morning, 7 sharp." Marcus folded the paper carefully. "You serious?" Victor shrugged. "Guy needs workers." Marcus stared at the address after Victor left. Northside Company, small family business. Could be nothing. Probably nothing. Still, for the first time in months, something inside Marcus shifted slightly. Very slightly. Like a locked door somewhere deep inside him had cracked open just enough for light to slip through. He had no idea what that decision would cost him. Monday morning smelled like burnt coffee and snow salt on wet sidewalks. Marcus stood outside the repair shop 30 minutes early with frozen hands buried deep inside his coat pockets. The sign above the garage read Alvarez Heating and Cooling. Half the letters needed fixing. That felt strangely comforting. The garage doors rattled open around 6:45. A heavy-setted Latino man stepped outside carrying a travel mug. Thick beard, work boots, gray hoodie under heavy jacket. He spotted Marcus immediately. "You read?" Marcus nodded. "Yes, sir." The man looked him over quietly. Not cruelly, just measuring.
Victor said you know HVAC basics. I passed certification. Got experience? Some, mostly maintenance work. The man sipped coffee. You on drugs? Marcus blinked. No, sir. You got transportation? Marcus hesitated. CTA mostly. The man nodded once. I'm Carlos. Marcus held out his hand automatically. Carlos shook it hard. Victor says you work hard. I do. We'll see. That was the whole interview. By 7:15, Marcus rode inside a work van hand toward Rogers Park beside another technician named Benny. The van heater blasted dry, hot air smelling faintly like motor oil. Benny talked nonstop. Boilers dying everywhere this winter. Old buildings can't keep up. Marcus nodded carefully, trying not to sound nervous. Benny glanced sideways. You homeless? Marcus froze, then nodded slowly. Yeah. Benny shrugged. Ain't my business. That simple. No judgment. Marcus nearly forgot how rare that felt. The first job involved an elderly woman whose radiator stopped working overnight. The place smelled like cabbage soup and old carpet. Marcus followed Benny through the repair quietly, watching everything carefully. By noon, Benny tossed Marcus a wrench. Your turn. Marcus crouched beside the heating unit, hands steady now. Familiar work settled into his muscles naturally. He adjusted the pressure valve and listened carefully. Machines made sense to him. People were harder. The boiler kicked alive with a loud groan.
Heat finally pushed through rusty pipes. The old woman smiled wide. Oh, thank God. Marcus smiled back before he could stop himself. That feeling hit him hard. Useful again. On the drive back, Benny grinned. You actually know your stuff. Marcus stared out snowy windows, hiding his smile. Little bit. Carlos paid him cash that first week, under the table, temporary, no promises. Marcus didn't care. It was work, real work. The shelter looked different after that. Not better exactly, just temporary again. That mattered. Every morning Marcus woke before sunrise and did his push-ups behind the building, then shaved carefully in the shelter bathroom using cracked mirrors and cold water. He cleaned his boots nightly, kept his clothes folded neat inside his backpack. Dignity takes maintenance too. Weeks passed. Then came the first setback. Marcus arrived one morning to find Carlos angry beside the garage. What happened? Marcus asked. Carlos rubbed his forehead hard. Big contract fell through. Benny cursed under his breath nearby. Carlos looked at Marcus. I can only keep one extra worker. Marcus felt the floor vanish under him again. Carlos sighed. Look, it ain't about you. Marcus nodded mechanically. It's okay. Funny how quickly fear returns once you know homelessness closely, like your body remembers falling. That afternoon, Marcus walked downtown in freezing wind, carrying all his tools inside a duffel bag. Panic sat sharp in his chest.
He had started imagining apartments again, stability again. Dangerous mistake. Hope hurts when it breaks. He spent hours applying everywhere afterward. Plumbing companies, maintenance crews, warehouse positions. Nobody called immediately. Of course not. One night, Earl found Marcus sitting alone behind the shelter, smoking a cigarette somebody gave him. "You look bad," Earl said. Marcus laughed bitterly. "Thanks." Earl sat beside him. "Job thing?" Marcus stared at snow blowing across the alley. "How you know?" Everybody got the same face after bad news. Marcus nodded slowly. "I thought things were changing." Earl scratched his gray beard. "Maybe they still are." Marcus shook his head. "You ever get tired of surviving?" Earl looked up toward dark clouds. "Every damn day." Silence settled a while. Then Earl smiled faintly. "But I ain't dead yet." Marcus laughed despite himself. "Same line." Earl pointed at him. "See? You still got laugh left." That mattered too. 3 days later, Marcus got another call from Carlos. "Can you come in tomorrow?" Marcus sat upright instantly inside the library. "Yeah." Big apartment building lost heat. "We're slammed." Marcus smiled for the first time all week. "I'll be there." That job changed everything slowly. Not because it paid huge money. It didn't. Because the building manager noticed Marcus. Her name was Claire Donahue, mid-40s, sharp voice, fast walker, always carrying 2 phones.
Marcus fixed heating units across all 12 floors while tenants complained nonstop around him. "My pipes sound weird. My kitchen's freezing. You people took forever." Marcus handled every complaint calmly. At one point, Claire watched him explain radiator problems patiently to an elderly tenant. Later, she pulled Carlos aside near the elevators. "That guy homeless?" Carlos looked surprised. "Why? He works harder than anybody here." Carlos shrugged. "Yeah, rough stretch." Claire nodded thoughtfully. 2 weeks later, she offered Marcus part-time maintenance work at the apartment building itself. Not glamorous, but steady. Marcus nearly couldn't speak hearing it. "You serious?" Claire frowned. "Why does everybody ask me that?" Marcus laughed softly. "Sorry. You start Monday." That was the second thing that almost worked, because the job paid steady money, but not enough for rent yet. Not in Chicago. Marcus still slept at the shelter while fixing luxury apartments during daytime. Strange feeling. He unclogged sinks beside kitchens larger than his entire shelter dormitory. One tenant complained because her wine fridge stopped cooling. Marcus nodded politely while thinking about nights he skipped dinner. But bitterness never fully took root inside him. He refused letting it. That surprised even him sometimes. Instead, Marcus focused hard on saving money. Every dollar mattered. He stopped buying coffee outside completely, ate mostly soup kitchen meals.
Stored cash carefully inside a hidden pouch sewn beneath backpack lining. One Thursday, Lily noticed the difference in his voice immediately. "You sound better." Marcus smiled while sitting outside the library steps. "I got steady work now." "Really?" "Yep." "That means you'll get an apartment soon?" The question hit softly. Marcus looked across busy traffic. "I'm trying." "You always say trying." "That's because it's true." Lily giggled. Marcus closed his eyes, listening to her laugh. That sound still healed broken places inside him. Then Lily got quiet. "Mom says you look healthier." Marcus glanced at his reflection in dark library glass. Cleaner shave, better posture, less hollow eyes. Maybe a little. "You coming to my school play?" Fear hit immediately. Crowds, parents, questions. Still, yes. Her excitement exploded through the phone. "Really? I wouldn't miss it." That promise scared him afterward, because now he had to show up. The school smelled like floor wax and cafeteria pizza that evening. Marcus stood near the back auditorium wall, wearing his cleanest shirt and cheapest tie from Goodwill. He felt every eye near him. Nobody actually stared much, but shame creates imaginary spotlights. Dana spotted him first beside folding chairs. "You came." Marcus nodded awkwardly. "Told her I would." Dana smiled softly. "You look good." Nobody had said that in a long time. The play itself barely mattered. Some winter musical with crooked paper snowflakes hanging everywhere. Marcus only watched Lily. She stood center stage during one song, singing louder than everybody else.
fearless. Afterward, she ran into his arms backstage. "You saw me?" "I saw everything." She beamed. That smile alone justified every miserable night he survived. Then, another father nearby struck conversation casually. "You in construction?" Marcus froze slightly. "Maintenance." "Nice. Hard work." Marcus nodded. "Yeah." Simple conversation. Normal conversation. But Marcus thought about it for hours later, because for 5 whole minutes he felt ordinary again. Not homeless, not broken, just another tired dad after a school play. That was the first small win that truly mattered. February rolled into March slowly. Dirty snow melted beside curbs. The city smelled like wet pavement and thawing garbage. Marcus finally saved enough for a weekly motel room. Same flickering sign on Western Avenue, but this time he stayed all week. The woman at the front desk recognized him immediately. "You moving up in the world?" Marcus smiled faintly. "Trying to." The room still smelled like bleach and old smoke. Pipes still rattled all night. But it had a door that locked. A bed. Privacy. Marcus sat silently on the mattress first night, staring at the walls. Nobody coughing nearby. Nobody yelling. No shelter lights snapping on at dawn. Quiet almost felt uncomfortable.
That night, he cried harder than he had since losing the house. Not because he was sad, because exhaustion finally had room to leave him. He slept 12 straight hours. Then the third almost breakthrough arrived. Claire approached Marcus one afternoon while he repaired hallway lights. "You ever think about supervising maintenance?" Marcus looked confused. "What?" "You manage people well." Marcus laughed. "I barely manage myself." Claire crossed her arms. "I'm serious. The building planned opening another property in Cicero. Better pay, full-time benefits." Marcus felt dizzy hearing it. "When?" "Few months, maybe." Hope rose fast again, dangerously fast. Marcus started imagining apartments harder now. Tiny kitchen, maybe, mattress on floor, Lily visiting weekends. Simple dreams suddenly felt close enough to touch. Then disaster hit again. One Tuesday, Marcus arrived at the motel after work and found his backpack missing. Gone. Every piece of clothing, notebook, family photos, Lily's drawings, certification papers. Everything. Marcus tore through the room wildly. Nothing. The front desk clerk Bailey looked up. Probably another guest. Marcus slammed both hands on the counter. "That bag had my whole life." The clerk shrugged tiredly. "Police won't do nothing." Marcus stood there breathing hard. Rage shook through him. Pure, helpless rage. Later, he sat outside beneath the buzzing motel sign, feeling emptier than ever. All those months protecting that backpack.
Gone in one afternoon. A man sleeping nearby muttered without opening his eyes. "Happens." Marcus nearly lost control hearing that. "Happens?" he snapped. The man opened tired eyes. "Yeah, happens." Marcus walked away before saying something ugly. That night he couldn't sleep. Every loss came flooding back together. House, marriage, car, pride. Now even the little pieces left. Around 3 a.m, Marcus almost bought whiskey from a gas station. He stood holding the bottle a while under fluorescent lights. His father drank himself to death when Marcus was 19. Marcus still remembered hospital smells and his mother crying into paper towels. He set the bottle back slowly, then walked out. That choice mattered more than anybody ever knew. Next morning, Marcus showed up to work exhausted and furious. Claire noticed immediately. "You okay?" Marcus shook his head once. "Not really." She studied him quietly. "You want to talk?" Marcus almost said no automatically. Then something inside him cracked open. Maybe exhaustion, maybe trust, maybe simply being tired of carrying everything alone. They sat in the boiler room while pipes hummed loudly overhead. Marcus told her about the backpack, the shelter, the divorce, everything. Claire listened without interrupting. When he finished, she leaned back quietly. "You know what I think?" Marcus rubbed tired eyes. "What?" "I think you're embarrassed for surviving." Marcus frowned. "What's that mean?"
"You act ashamed you struggled." Marcus looked away. "People judge." "Some do," Claire shrugged. "Most are too busy surviving their own mess." That line stayed with him. Everybody carries something. Claire opened her purse and handed Marcus a business card.
My cousin runs affordable apartments in Little Village. Marcus stared at the card carefully. You serious? There's a studio opening soon. Marcus laughed weakly. Everybody keeps saying serious lately. Claire smiled slightly. Maybe life finally is. The apartment was tiny, really tiny. One room, cracked tile kitchen, windows facing an alley dumpster. Marcus loved it instantly. Because it was his. Well, almost. The landlord wanted first month plus deposit. Marcus still came up short. He worked double shifts afterward, 12-hour days fixing leaks and hauling trash, hands cracked from chemicals and cold water. Benny noticed him limping one evening. You good? Marcus nodded automatically. Benny snorted. Bull. Marcus laughed tiredly. Need apartment money. Benny leaned against the van. How much short? Marcus hesitated. Couple hundred. Benny pulled cash from his wallet immediately. Marcus stepped back. No. It's loan. I can't. Benny shoved money into Marcus's hand. Pay me later. Marcus stared at him speechless. Why? Benny shrugged. Because somebody once did it for me. That night, Marcus signed a lease.
He sat alone inside the empty studio afterward, while traffic noises drifted through thin windows. No furniture yet, no dishes, nothing except one borrowed blanket and a backpack with replacement clothes. Still, home. Marcus lay flat on the hardwood floor, smiling up at water stains on the ceiling. Then suddenly, fear crept in again. Rent, bills, keeping it. What if he failed again? Homelessness changes your brain. Even good things feel temporary afterward. He still checked shelter schedules mentally every night for weeks. Old survival habits stay alive. Lily visited the apartment 2 Sundays later. Marcus cleaned everything 3 times beforehand, despite almost nothing being there. He bought orange soda and frozen pizza because she loved both. When Dana dropped her off, she looked around the building carefully. You sure this neighborhood's okay? Marcus nodded. It's fine. Dana studied him. You really did it. Marcus looked away slightly. Trying to. She smiled sadly. You always say that. Inside, Lily bounced around the tiny apartment excitedly. You got your own place. Marcus laughed. Little place. I love it. Kids measure love differently than adults do. Lily sat cross-legged on the blanket, eating pizza, while Marcus watched her carefully. At one point, she looked around seriously. You need pictures. What? Walls feel lonely. Marcus smiled hard at that. Next visit, she brought drawings to tape everywhere. Bright suns, flowers.
Stick figures holding hands. Life slowly returned to rooms through those drawings. Spring warmed Chicago finally. Neighborhood kids played basketball in alleys again. Ice cream trucks returned. Windows opened across apartment buildings. Marcus kept working nonstop. Claire officially offered him assistant supervisor position for the new property opening in Cicero. Full benefits, salary, real stability finally close enough to touch. Marcus signed paperwork with shaking hands. Then another problem appeared. The property opening got delayed by legal issues. Months, maybe. Meanwhile, Marcus's current hours got cut temporarily. Money tightened instantly again. One missed step from disaster. Marcus sat inside his apartment one humid night, staring at overdue bills spread across the floor. The old panic returned, sharp and ugly. Phone buzzed suddenly. Dana. Marcus answered immediately. You okay? You sound weird, she said. Marcus rubbed his forehead. Just tired. Long silence. Then Dana spoke softly. You know, Lily brags about you now. Marcus blinked. What? She tells everybody her dad fixes buildings. Emotion hit him so fast he couldn't answer. Dana continued quietly. She's proud of you. Marcus stared at the wall a long time after hanging up. Outside, sirens moved through warm summer air. Inside, taped drawings fluttered slightly beneath an old fan. Proud of you. Nobody understood what those words can do to a man hanging by threads.
Weeks later, Marcus got called into Claire's office. She looked stressed immediately. What happened? Marcus asked. Claire folded her arms. Corporate wants outside hires for supervisor positions. Marcus felt his stomach drop. But you said... I know what I said. Marcus looked down slowly. There it was again, the floor disappearing. Claire slammed a folder onto her desk angrily. I fought them. Marcus nodded numbly. It's okay. No, it isn't. Marcus forced a tired smile. Feels familiar, honestly. Claire stared at him hard. Don't do that. What? Don't shrink every time life hits you. Marcus looked away. Silence stretched. Then Claire slid another paper toward him. Marcus frowned, reading it.
HVAC Operations Manager Training Program, Downtown Commercial Company, Union Benefits, Career Track, application referral already signed by Claire. Marcus looked up, stunned. What's this? Claire smiled slightly. This is me not being done yet. Marcus stared at the paper like it might disappear. Outside her office window, workers moved through hallways carrying paint buckets and tools. Normal sounds, normal day. But Marcus felt something huge shifting quietly underneath everything, like life was finally preparing to open a different door. He just had no idea what waited on the other side yet. The training program started on a gray Monday morning downtown. Marcus rode the blue line with one clean folder on his lap and both hands holding it flat.
His shoes were polished, his shirt was ironed, his stomach still twisted like he was walking into court. The office building smelled like floor wax and hot coffee. Men and women in badges moved fast through glass doors. Everybody looked like they belonged somewhere. Marcus stood near security and felt that old shame rising again. Then he heard Claire's voice in his head. Don't shrink every time life hits you. So he straightened his back. The instructor was a short man named Frank with silver hair and sharp eyes. He walked into the classroom carrying a stack of binders. Morning, Frank said. Everybody mumbled back. Frank looked around the room. This program is not easy. Marcus sat still. Some of you will quit, Frank said. Nobody laughed. Marcus opened his notebook. He wrote one sentence at the top. Don't quit. The first weeks nearly broke him in a new way. Not street broke, not hungry broke, but tired in his mind. Blueprints, safety rules, building codes, computer systems, budget sheets, work orders. He understood machines, but paperwork felt like a wall. At night, he sat at his kitchen table under one cheap lamp. Lily's drawings watched from the wall. He studied until words blurred. Sometimes he fell asleep with his cheek on open pages. Then his alarm screamed at 5. He got up anyway. One Friday, Frank handed back a quiz. Marcus got a 62. The red mark at the top made his face burn. A younger guy beside him smiled. Man, this stuff ain't for everybody.
Marcus said nothing, but that comment followed him home. That night he almost threw the binder across the room. He sat at the table, rubbing his eyes while rain tapped against the window. His phone buzzed. Lily. Dad, you busy? Marcus looked at the failed quiz. Never too busy for you. I got a spelling test back. Yeah? I got a 96. Marcus smiled. That's my girl. What did you get on your test? He froze. Kids know where to step without meaning to. Marcus sighed. Not a 96. How bad? 62. Lily went quiet. Then she said, So study more. Marcus blinked. That's your advice? Yeah, that's what you tell me. He laughed for the first time all day. You got me there. After they hung up, he opened the binder again. He studied more. 2 months later, Marcus passed the midterm with an 88. Frank laid the paper on his desk and tapped it once. There he is. Marcus looked up. Frank nodded. Knew you had it. Marcus carried that paper home like it was worth money. The real test came during the winter rush. A downtown office tower lost heat on 3 floors during a bitter cold snap. The company sent trainees with senior managers to observe. Marcus stepped into the mechanical room and smelled burning dusk immediately. Pipes knocked loud in the walls. A young manager paced near the door, panicked. We've got lawyers upstairs freezing, he snapped. Frank looked at the trainees. Who sees the issue? Everybody stared at gauges.
Marcus listened. That sound was wrong, not broken. Starved. He crouched near the feed line and pointed. Airlock. Frank raised an eyebrow. You sure? Marcus touched the pipe carefully. Heat's fighting to move. Pressure's off here. The young manager frowned. You can fix it? Marcus looked at Frank. Frank stepped back. Show us. Marcus worked calmly, valve by valve, slow, careful. He talked through each step, not to show off, to keep himself steady. 20 minutes later, heat moved through the pipes again. The manager exhaled hard. Frank smiled. The younger guy from class stared at Marcus like he had just become visible. On the train home that evening, Marcus saw his reflection in the dark window. Tired eyes, gray in his beard, work jacket zipped to his chin. But he knew that man. For the first time in years, he knew him. He did not look away. By spring, Marcus finished the program near the top of his class. The company offered him a full-time operations job, salary, benefits, paid time off, a badge with his name on it. He sat inside the HR office holding the offer letter. The woman smiled. "Do you need time to think?" Marcus shook his head. "No, ma'am." His voice cracked. "I've had enough time." That first real paycheck hit his bank account on a Thursday morning. Marcus checked the numbers 6 times. Then he paid rent first, electric second, phone third. He bought groceries after that. Real groceries. Eggs, bread, chicken, apples, cereal for Lily.
He stood in the checkout line holding the receipt afterward. Nothing bounced, nothing declined. Nobody behind him sighed. He walked home with bags cutting into his fingers and smiled all the way. Success did not arrive with music. It arrived with paid bills and a full fridge. Dana came over the next weekend with Lily. Marcus had bought a small used table from Facebook Marketplace. 4 chairs, 1 wobbled. Lily ran to the fridge first. "You got orange soda." Marcus grinned, always. Dana looked around quietly. The place was still small, still plain, but clean, warm, alive. "You did good, Marcus," she said. He looked down. "Thank you." Lily taped a new drawing above the table. 3 stick figures stood outside a building. One had a tool belt. "That's you," she said. Marcus stared at it. "I can tell." "You're smiling." He nodded slowly. "Yeah." He saved that drawing forever. Not everything came back. That was the hard truth. Dana did not come back as his wife. They became kinder, but not married again. Some bridges do not rebuild the same way. Marcus learned to accept that without bitterness. One evening they sat on the building steps while Lily packed her school bag inside. Dana said, "I'm sorry I left the way I did." Marcus looked at the sidewalk. "You were trying to breathe." She wiped one eye fast. "So are you." They sat quiet in the warm air. Then Marcus said, "I forgive you." Dana nodded. "I forgive you too." There was no big music, no movie moment.
Just 2 tired people telling the truth. That was enough. Earl passed away that summer. Marcus heard from Denise at the library. Heart attack behind the shelter. Quiet. Fast. The news hit him harder than expected. Marcus went to the small service at a church near Pilsen. Only 12 people came. The pastor spoke gently. A few men from the shelter stood in clean, donated shirts. Marcus wore his work badge under his jacket. He did not know why. Maybe he wanted Earl to see it somehow. After the service, Marcus stood outside near the steps. Denise touched his arm. "He talked about you." Marcus turned. "He did?" She smiled sadly. "Said you had fight left." Marcus looked toward the street, where buses groaned past in afternoon heat. "He saved me once." Denise nodded. "Sounds like Earl." Marcus went home that night and wrote one line in a new notebook. "Feels close, ain't the same thing." He kept that notebook beside his bed. Life grew bigger slowly, not all at once. Marcus moved from the tiny studio into a 1-bedroom in the same neighborhood. Nothing fancy. Better windows, better locks. A bedroom Lily could use on weekends. He bought her a real bed with a purple comforter. When she saw it, she stood silent in the doorway. "This is mine?" Marcus nodded. "When you're here." She ran one hand across the blanket. "I never had a room at your place before." Marcus swallowed hard. "I know." She turned and hugged him. He held her carefully, like holding something returned from far away. Work kept growing too. Marcus became the guy people called when a building problem got messy. He stayed calm, he listened. He never talked down to janitors or tenants or new workers. He remembered being ignored. So he noticed people. One cold morning, a new trainee showed up late with red eyes and shaking hands. His name was Kevin, 24. Thin jacket, no lunch. Marcus recognized the look. During lunch, Marcus placed an extra sandwich beside him. Kevin looked up. "I'm good." Marcus smiled faintly. "Wasn't asking." Kevin stared at him. Marcus thought of Earl. The circle had moved. Years did not erase the past. They changed what it meant. Marcus still saved money with fear in his hands.
He kept extra canned food in the cabinet. He charged his phone every night before bed. He never let his gas tank fall below half once he finally bought another used truck. Some wounds become habits. But he also learned joy again. Saturday pancakes with Lily, Bulls games on TV, cheap coffee from the corner place where the owner knew his order, summer walks near Lake Michigan when the water looked silver under morning light. One day Lily asked him to speak at her school career day. Marcus laughed. Me? Yes, you. I fix buildings. That's a career. I don't know what to say. She looked at him like he was being foolish. Tell the truth. So he did.
He stood in front of a classroom full of 8th graders with squeaky chairs and posters on the walls. The room smelled like pencil shavings and cafeteria fries. He held a wrench in one hand. "This tool matters," he said. A few kids leaned forward, but showing up matters more. He did not tell them every detail. They were kids, but he told them enough. He told them people fall. He told them shame lies. He told them asking for help does not make you weak. A boy in the back raised his hand. "You ever mess up bad?" Marcus smiled. "More than once." The kids laughed. Marcus nodded. "But I learned something." "What?" "You can lose a lot and still not be lost." Lily watched from the side of the room. Her face shone with pride. Afterward, she whispered, "You did good." Marcus whispered back, "So did you." That night, he stood in his bathroom brushing his teeth before bed. The mirror above the sink had one little crack in the corner. The light buzzed softly overhead. He looked at himself for a long time. Not the shelter man, not the motel man, not the man outside the tire shop under Christmas snow. All of those men were still inside him, but they were not all he was. He leaned closer to the mirror and saw his own eyes clearly. "Welcome back," he whispered. Then he laughed because it sounded strange, but he meant it. Years later, Marcus opened his own small repair company, Reed Building Services. Nothing flashy. 2 vans, 4 workers. A rented garage near the same stretch of Western Avenue where he once slept under bus stop lights. He hired people with gaps on their resumes. He asked hard questions, but fair ones. You ready to show up? That mattered most to him. One afternoon, a woman came in, applying for office help. She wore a clean blouse and tired eyes. Her hands trembled slightly while holding the application. Marcus noticed the shelter address. She noticed him noticing. Her face changed immediately. "I can explain," she said. Marcus set the paper down gently. "You don't have to explain being alive." She cried right there in the chair. He gave her a minute. Then they talked about the job. When business got stronger, Marcus started paying for warm meals at the church soup kitchen once a month. He never made speeches there. He just carried trays, poured coffee, learned names. The pastor, older now, smiled when he first saw him behind the counter. "Look at you." Marcus laughed, "Still surviving." The pastor shook his head. "No, you're living now." Marcus thought about that all night. Living. That word felt bigger than success. Success was not the company name on his shirt. It was Lily calling just to talk. It was sleeping through the night without fear. It was opening bills without shaking. It was forgiving himself slowly. It was remembering Earl without breaking. It was standing in rooms he once cleaned and knowing he belonged there too. One November, near Thanksgiving, Marcus drove past the old motel sign. It still flickered, still looked tired. Vacancy blinked in red and blue through cold rain. He pulled over. For a minute, he just sat there with the engine running. Wipers clicked back and forth. Traffic hissed past the same way it had years before. He saw himself under that bus stop. Wet shoes, 8% battery, no calls, no place to go. Then his phone buzzed. Lily's name lit the screen. She was in college now. Community college first. Then she planned nursing school. She worked part-time and complained about textbooks like every student in America. Marcus answered, "Hey, baby girl. Dad, you busy?" "Never too busy for you." "I passed my anatomy exam." Marcus smiled wide. "What'd you get?" 91. "That's my girl." She laughed. Then she said, "I'm proud of you too, you know." Marcus looked through the windshield at the flickering motel sign. Rain blurred the lights until they looked soft. "I know," he said, but his voice shook. After they hung up, he sat there a little longer. He did not hate that corner anymore. He did not love it either. It was just part of the map now, a place where one version of him almost disappeared, a place where another version began. He stepped out into the rain and stood under the bus stop roof. The same roof still leaked. Cold drops hit his jacket sleeve. He smiled at that.
Then he looked across the street at the motel sign and remembered every person who kept one small light on for him. Denise with granola bars, Carla with blankets, Benny with cash, Claire with truth, Earl with half a sandwich, Lily with one sentence. "You always come back." Marcus whispered into the rain. "I did." Then he got back in his truck and drove home. The lesson Marcus carried was simple. People are not only what happened to them. They are not only the worst night they survived. They are not the job they lost, the house they left, the shelter bed they slept in, or the mistake they still regret. A person can be broken and still be building. A person can be ashamed and still be worthy. A person can be tired and still have one more morning inside them. Most lives do not change because one miracle falls from the sky. They change because somebody stays alive long enough to take the next right step. They change because somebody accepts help. They change because somebody gives help back. So when you see someone down, remember there may be a whole future standing quietly inside them, waiting for one warm hand, one open door, or one reason to try again. And when you are the one who feels lost, ask yourself this before you quit. What if tomorrow still knows your name? Nobody is finished just because life found them on the ground. The story is now complete.